Well, we're certainly used to it, and we've made a lot of decisions literally game to game, or as last night made it uh, between warm-up and games. So it's something we're used to, and we've handled it really well. It's not a, obviously it becomes a factor as the farther you go, just because the quality of the player. But we've handled it really well as a group. Hi, Eric.
You just talked about the effect of 3 games in 4 nights. You always see it in the regular season, but you have to go back almost 20 years when they played 3 and 4 nights regularly in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think that just the whole. Somebody asked after the game, even with Jonathan, why, want me to say something bad about pulling back Jonathan Quick. I said, no, we have 5 games in 10 days coming up. Well, it tells you it does. It's taxing on the guys, for sure it is. And with the amount of travel we have, I mean, hey, we choose to come home last night, so we, by the time you shut her down, you know what it's like. You shut her down at 2:30 in the morning, and today you're just trying to get it close to full again. It's hard.
Darryl, if you could, is there any explanation for the disparity between the record at home and road?
We've played really well in Chicago. I mean, we haven't played a game at home yet.
No, but I mean, just in the playoffs in general, I mean, there's just such a huge disparity.
Every game we lost, I've answered this several times, we've lost every game 2-1 until last night. Every game 2-1. So that I don't think is a huge gap in performance or play at all. I mean, we've had trouble scoring, not this playoff. We've had trouble scoring since the first of. You go back the 6 games left in the season, we've had trouble scoring. And even though we finished 5th in the conference or whatever that I said, it came in. And we seen it last year in the playoffs too. I mean, it's not a home road disparity at all. It's, you know what? We're a good hockey club. We're not surprising anybody. There's no upsets now. We're the team that's trying to surprise the team that finished first overall. And if you look at the teams that we've played so far in the playoffs, they're great home ice teams. They're not. That's part of it. Go ahead. No, go.
Just the struggles of Brown and Kopitar, at least statistically.
Yeah, they have. They've struggled offensively for sure. That's not me jumping out making a statement. That is a fact. That's a statistical fact.
This team is used to coming back from adversity, came back from 2 games down against St. Louis. Does that help at all, having been here?
I don't know if it helps, but it doesn't hurt. I don't know if it helps. I mean, you see at the end of the game if it helps. So we're going to play the same way. We're not going to say, oh, it's pressure or adversity. That's not how our team. That's why we're a good hockey club. That's why we've been one for. That doesn't come into play into it. We know how our team's going to play. We need guys to just get better a little bit if they can. If they're able to play through what's wrong with them, or find something in their game a little bit more, or things that we can help them with, then that makes them a little better, and that's how we'll stay alive.
Darryl, when you were talking about Mike last night, you said you told him if you're not 100%, you're not going. Has that attitude evolved over the last few years in terms of the way you deal with something like that? Not just you, but any coach.
Well, I think that's probably a general attitude in sport, but and then I would say it's not an evolvement for me. I mean, that's a player you know and trust, and you know how he plays. And I've been down that. That's what I told him when he was he was fine all day, but I think once he got to the United Center last night and he starts thinking about being a Warrior, and then the blood starts pumping, and then he starts going through his routine, and then he gets you go through your meeting, and then you go for warm up, and then he knows himself, and it's the first thing I did after warm up, because we had extra guys in warm up. It's not just for Mike. We had guys in warm up that are banged up, and you got to check. I mean, you don't turn your roster until about 16 minutes before the game, and that's literally when until we waited to.
But
Well,
that's 20 years ago. Does that play out the same way?
Uh, probably not because you didn't talk to yourself about it as a player. You know what? You just played. You didn't go ask somebody or somebody wasn't there. Wasn't a huge staff watching you. It was basically you and your teammates and a couple coaches.
Been in a situation like that, that scramble right before the game started, Rob, that you didn't like?
I'm not sure quite that same one where it was, where it's symptom related, but certainly guys that are, getting froze up or can't get it froze up or that sort of thing where you got to make the decision or guys telling you whether they can play or not, and you got to have the backup plan and be ready for it. It's the first thing you do. You don't just say, hey, it's tough to lose the player at that time, but the first thing you have to do as a head coach is make sure that you address it with your group because everybody has to know who's going where, and it's not like Mike Richards is a like a guy that you're just sort of spotting in your lineup. He's a significant part of everything. He's a significant part of if you're into matchups, if you're into face-offs, if you're into power play, if you're into penalty killing, last minute, first minute. So it moves everybody around a little bit, and either you can, you can say how you're going to adjust, but or what you want guys to do in those situations, or what they have to do and be ready for it. But you're not replacing that player.
Darryl, if Mike can't go tomorrow, are you still comfortable with the Toffoli, Penner, Carter trio?
Well, the only line that quite honest, that's where Mike would have played last night, correct? And they were our best line. So, the adjustment they made, it's like Lisa asking, how does that affect, it's 16 minutes before the game. That line was awesome. They went, I think Tyler was nervous early and made a couple mistakes, but I think Jeff and Dustin's experience, and I think they did a really good job for us.
Is the protocol still the same for Game 3? You want to see how he feels?
Pardon?
For Mike.
I can't talk no more about it, quite honest. I mean, it's like when you guys were asking about Jarrett last series. The same questions you have are the same ones I have. It's not today, it's tomorrow, right? It's after activity, how they react, if they're allowed activity, how they react. There's no really deep, there's no secret to it. It's how they react to it. So that's how we do it.
Darryl, was the approach being down to just as simple as shift by shift? Is it desperation? We're not a team that gets ahead of ourselves or down ourselves or up on ourselves or listen to what somebody else says or we just keep it in there, stay within ourselves. Doesn't matter if we're up to, down to. The other team knows they're going to get there. They're going to have their hands full.
And Coach, does that same philosophy apply to Kopitar because he's been in such a scoring slump, or have you noticed any frustration on his part?
Yeah, I'm sure he's frustrated. I mean, we spent a lot of time together talking about stuff and working on stuff and trying to find little areas that he can do differently or do better. But I don't lose any sleep over Kopi. I mean, he's not a guy that takes shortcuts to not do well. He does everything he can to do well. So. And I think he handles that really well. He's other than last year, he hasn't been a guy that's played much playoffs or had success at playoffs, and so it's it's still a great experience for him.
I don't know if you care to be more specific, but about Kopitar, what have you guys spoken about? What can he do? What can he do better or differently?
I think I think it's pretty evident. When Kopi has the puck, he's a top player in the league. When he doesn't have the puck, he's a good checker, and we want him to be more than a good checker. And so that means he could have the puck more, and that means that, quite honestly, he can support the puck better. He can, and certainly who he plays with can feel privileged that they're playing with a top player, and they should be doing everything they can to play with him.